just wondering how long is it going to take humans before they quit being a deranged mass of animal fleshed entities and quit eating animals? When are they going to go back to being vegan? Because everything basically is vegan. Universe started with nothing. Of course, there's been multiple universes. Because there's probably two big giant magnets out there so far away that when they go apart, they attract for a while, and then maybe the heat that's when they're cold. They go apart, they repel each other, and then they cool down and they start coming back together, and the universe just gets swallowed up around them, and then they heat up, and then they repel each other. Or is it the opposite? Anyway, I guess too cold they don't work, and too hot they don't work. But anyway, so first dirt was what? Who knows what the first dirt was? I mean, you can't figure out where the first dirt came from. You can say atomic particles. You can say this, that, but then you still have to have atomic particles. I mean, nobody know. I mean, you got electrons in there. That's electricity. Of course, if there was always light, from basically no suns. If there was no suns, that you'd have to have gravity or whatever it is that holds suns and stuff together, which is gravity has to be caused by something. Then you have to figure out what causes gravity. Anyway, it's all this stuff that has to be. The story jumps around so much. If you start at nothing, you just figure, okay, whatever nature is, I wouldn't call it a god. I wouldn't call the first thing that created or whatever created the first thing God. I mean, that's kind of stupid to say that's control over everything. I doubt that thing. That thing is so. If it was so small, it was so. I don't even know if finitesimal is a word, but if it was so freaking small, it was infinitely small to be created. It doesn't make it a god, it just makes it infinitely small. It doesn't make the first thing a god. I mean, it's the first thing, but now it's so small, it's smothered by everything. It might not even. I mean, it couldn't even be in the nothingness of the universe. The whole nothingness of the universe is purity. And there's nothing out there. There's no atoms. There's nothing. And you got the Ong, O-N-G, is what say that the fist is where all the dirt, matter, antimatter, and all that stuff is. Now, go out from my fist, clear out into space. Say if my fist was, everything that's tangible, measurable, seeable, feelable, warmth and everything, all radiance and all that stuff, even the radioactive particles. And that's the Ong. That's the known universe. That's what, not necessarily known because we've seen it, but it can be tangible. It can be touched by, say, a human being. And everything outside of that where there is none of this tangible, no measurable stuff, that would be the nothingness of the universe, which is infinite because there's no walls, there's no shape to it. It's just, the problem is all these scientists and people think it has to have a shape because we have to be able to draw it on there to put it in a book so we can teach and claim we're smarter than everybody else because now we know how far the universe is and the shape of it. There's no shape to it. Problem is the brain can't. We're so adept at understanding stuff written by somebody else that your own belief is just obliterated because you don't believe in yourself. You only believe what somebody else writes. So when you think of something, even though it's probably not your thought, because more often than not, it's been thought by a billion other people, animals thought it. What do you think? Where do you think our thought came from? Where do you think our flesh came from? All these animals that are walking around, even the ones that aren't walking around anymore, all those are thought for billions, billions of years. Even the first brain. I mean, you have all this stuff, the energies and stuff. They created the plants. I'm not even going to get into plants. It's hard. It's hard enough remember this stuff on animals. I can't even remember why all the spots and why they all got shape of antlers and why their shapes are. They all got stories. All the shapes of these animals got stories of why they are and where they are in the spectrum of thought. And it's so much more explained when you know what they come from than to allow a person to tell you that they're nothing, that they're just something you can stick a knife in, kill, and then throw in a fire and cook. They go so much. They're so much beyond all the stuff that people tell you, because I don't know, people are traditionalized. They don't know anything better. They have no freaking clue what they're even talking about. They're just they'll take bits and pieces, and that's what a lot of people do. They'll say, well, I'm going to make up my own story, take bits and pieces of this, bits and pieces of that, bits and pieces of that, and then they slam it together and they write a book and say, well, this is a newest theory, this is how this is now, and y'all, this, that, and the other. That ain't how it is. It's a slow growth universe. And to even think of the infinitely small, I mean, take the universe, it's an infinitely large, it never ending. So you're taking it came not the nothingness. You'll never explain where the nothingness. You'll never explain where space is the ever flowing, not even flowing, but the everness of everything. I mean, it goes forever. You'll never explain how large it is. The human mind, there's no mathematical. The problem is, there's always some idiot that's going to try to put it into mathematics. He can't do it. I mean, if they're saying they put a shape on, I mean, the smartest guy was putting a shape on the universe. Unless he was talking about the Ong, which is the known universe, which, they're just speculating that what we're in here is maybe a circle, maybe a shape. How do they know what it doesn't flow and goes maybe it's like a river. Maybe what we're in here is like a pond, not just all the stuff we see here is like a big old lake of planets and stars, galaxies. If all the telescope can see all that, and it's just a lake. And then there's a tributary to the lake, or a spring. Say it's, anyway, so maybe it's not a wormhole, but it's a small tributary to this universe, or we're a tributary to another, or not another universe, but another area, like another pond or another lake. Say it's just a big river system. Anyway, so I believe it's a slow growth universe. Planets are from all the plants that have grown and died and grown and died. It's not some chemical reaction. You'd have to think of all the stuff you'd have to have all the stuff, and then you'd have to have it perfectly assembled. And in first place, it'd have to be separated and then smash into each other in such large quantities. To get such a large quantity, it's not even feasible that is how the universe could come, is by chemical reaction or atomic particles bonding. What makes them bond? All that stuff has to be made. All that atomic material has to be bonded, has to be made, and it has to grow. Science is so everything. That's a problem with people. It's they steal everything they got. The speed, walking, running, climbing, flying, fighting, everything came from watching animals, and everything. The thought, it's the animals. You can't even fathom the speed of thought and how the bulk of it, and how much power it has, especially over something as small as an embryo, because that's basically all it needs to have power over. One little embryo, the mass of thought, and that's the problem with the humans. They'll think together, but they won't even know they're thinking together, and they can come up. I don't really know of them ever coming up with anything brilliant, and but I do know they come up with a lot of evil, deranged stuff, and that's where a lot of, in fact, humans are the Satan of religion. Their thought, their uncensored thought is the Satan, the uncensored massive thought of the human race, the that nobody can control. They can't control it. They don't even know it exists. It's just it's up and aware, up and away, and it's aware, and it's just contributed to because, well, everything people point at and think about, and the thought they have is stolen from animals, which created them. So basically, animals are God, and if religion claims that God is their great, and anything against that God is a blasphemy, then the way they treat animals is a blasphemy. They eat animals. I don't know what, that's murder, and it's their God. You don't even know the stories of their skeletal stories, their muscular stories. I don't mean a doctorate story of they have these bones are in the shape of yeah, of course. You don't know why. And they say, well, they were formed because the meat wore them down. Well, who cares what science says? They're in a shape because the thought that shaped them was a necessity, and it was born to prove. It's just like people are born. I see it all the time. You see it. You wait 10 years and you'll see kids born that were thought about 10 or 20 years ago. You can see kids born. It's anyway. So, well, you got blasphemy of animals. You eat them. People say they're better than them, and yet they eat them. They're combining the flesh and the blood and the DNA of an animal, and they're consuming them in their mouth, swallowing and digesting them. Then they turn them to sewage. They're taking life, was a heartbeat with a family, and they're turning them into sewage. Now, why would they do that? Why would you take life and turn it to sewage? Why don't you just eat vegetables? Don't worry. You know what? Where the strength comes. Everybody's like, oh, we need our strength so we can kill. We need to be able to kill, so we need to be able to eat something. And what's stronger than humans is animals, so let's eat animals. And so you end up eating fish, and you can hold in your hand, or a calf you can hold in your arms. And but cowboys and all that, they're so traditionalized. They're brainwashed 40 years down the road. They ain't even going to find their brain for 40 years. And when they get there, it's brainwashed from there beyond that. So they might have a 40-year, they look at a calf and think, well, I shouldn't be, and then it'll just snap into automatic overdrive and hit them another 40 years, and they'll be dead before they ever have a thought about not eating or not branding or not corralling or not killing or not moving them from one place, like one place where it's nice. I seen cow. I see cows up here and they're grazing, but I'll tell you what, I've seen some happy cows down by eating seagrass or salt grass down in Louisiana. They look like some happy freaking cows. They're down there. It's warm. It's kind of swampy. It's almost like cows were made for a marshy area or around a marsh. It's almost like that water that not it's not salt water. It's like brackish, fresh water and brackish water. It's almost like, man, those cows just look. Every time I went by them, it was like, man, they just look happier than all the other cows I've ever seen. All the other ones are up here, they're butt to a blizzard, and they just get blanketed with snow. They ain't freaking buffalo. Look at the buffalo. They're roaming. They come up here because who knows? Maybe they're lost too, but they're at least made for it. You got cows. You ever seen cow hair is maybe a freaking quarter inch to a half inch, and some of them grow fur in the winter, but not all of them. And farmers, how many tens of thousands of animals die in cold each year. What was it, like a couple years ago up in Dakotas or something like that, or Montana? I don't know what area. Wyoming's tens of thousands of cattle die almost every time there's a cold snap up north. They just are not made for that freaking weather, and they're not made to be transported around. They're not made. What do we breed? What are we mixing their race up for? I mean, just what humans are wanting. Oh, let's crossbreed humans. Let's make this race and this race combine their diseases together and make something that whatever disease comes through can destroy the whole race. Then, so now you're gonna take two races and you think, well, with one race we'll be much stronger, until that one race is individual and everybody's the same color and everybody's the same DNA, and then whatever superbug comes through, bam! It doesn't have to evolve from white to black to brown to whatever. It'll just wipe out one freaking race, and everybody's like, well, we'll be oh, I didn't think of that before. So you're eating animals, you're putting the DNA in you, and you're turning them to sewage. You're turning life to sewage, and then you walk around, why is everything going bad for us? Why is God doing this to us? Well, you're eating God. That's why. You're freaking eating them. Freaking eating baby calves. You're eating embryos of a freaking chicken. You're eating chicken embryos. That's almost sick to think about. But, okay, so you're eating this, the DNA mixes with you. It's like having sex. You're mixing the DNA with your DNA. Now, it might not change you that much, but it does. It apparently makes you stronger. So the fluids are going in you. You're eating the fluids and the flesh, the blood, and everything else. In fact, look at milk. It's like pus. Basically, I think milk is just a lizard pus. Something that scrapes along and then a cyst is formed. That's all they are. Tits are nothing but cysts. So you got a cow cyst and you're drinking cyst milk. You're drinking pus of a cow, or pus of a sheep, or pus of a goat, or pus of a cat, or a lizard, if you milk lizards. Because lizards have milk. Oh, I forgot they don't. Anyway. So, if you're having sex with a cow by eating it, then that would be bestiality. And if you're having bestiality, it's a dead cow, or a dead sheep, or a dead chicken. So, that's also necrophilia. Because if it's sex, you're mixing fluids. You're eating the dead fluids. So it's also your God, so it's cannibalism. It's also if you're eating veal, if you're eating chicken, eggs, and basically all these animals you're saying, well, they're younger than you because you've been around. Say you're 30 years old, and this cow's a year old. Isn't that child molestation? In fact, eating honeys, bees, the queen bee, all her workers are her offspring. So that's child molestation from eating honey. And you don't know that all the problems that are caused. Animals, you think, well, they just walk around. They don't talk. They don't have an alphabet. I know they got a brain and they think in herds. They don't, just because one doesn't individually talk doesn't mean that a herd doesn't think when it's, you separate a cow or whatever from a herd or a group or whatever it is that it's used to being with, then it's not gonna, it's probably, I'm not gonna think I'm all alone in here. I'm just gonna numb it down and just let them push me around because I'm not, heck with this. I'm a hostage. I'm not with the group I'm supposed to. These people aren't me. Why am I even in here? You block them this and you block them here and then you push them in a chute and they're in an environment where it's like, wow, I don't know any of this. I don't know any of this. Now they're in a room and they're like, oh, man, I don't know where I'm at. And then they're getting pushed around by people they don't know. And it's like, well, we're humans, so we're going to give tests now and poke it here and ask it questions. And if it doesn't give us an answer, we'll leave a typewriter down here for this cow to type out. And as it types, then we have people in the next room with a computer, and they're taking samples of thought that this baby cow will type out on a typewriter. And if it doesn't type out, well, then we know it's a stupid animal.